Well, electric car maker Tesla due to report first quarter results after today's close. Wall Street is expecting a loss of 51 cents on revenues of $43.3 million. Andrea James, an emerging technologies analyst at Doherty & Company, rates the stock a buy, and she recently boosted her price target to $40 a share from $30 a share. And so, Andrea, is it wrong to characterize your view as pretty bullish here on the stock?
We're pretty bullish on the stock, that's right.
안녕하세요 여러분, 메이저 시프트입니다. 아크 인베스트 등의 캐시우드 훨씬 이전에 테슬라의 주가 상승을 예상하던 한 여성 애널리스트가 있었던 걸 아시나요? 그녀의 이름은 바로 안드레아 제임스. 도어리 앤 컴퍼니에서 2010년부터 테슬라의 분석을 담당했는데요. 그때 그녀의 나이는 고작 28살이었습니다. 남성들이 대부분이었던 자동차 분야 애널리스트들 사이에서 비난을 받으면서도 꿋꿋이 자신의 위치를 지킨 그녀의 스토리를 모아봤습니다.
Now, why raise the price target at this point in time? They haven't really sold that many cars, particularly coming off all the sales numbers that came out yesterday for the big automakers.
That's right. All eyes are on 2012 and 2013. The question is, can the Tesla sell 20,000 Model S vehicles per year at a 25% gross margin? We think they can. We toured the factory. They're on track. The Model S is on track to be released in mid-2012 as scheduled, and we think they can do it.
There are a lot of electric vehicles now coming on the market. How competitive is Tesla, and where is their position in the market? They also have a crossover model that's at a lower price point, don't they? The Model X that they're working on.
That'll be coming out, yeah, in a couple years. So a lot of the electric vehicles coming on the market are lower-end vehicles. They are a cheaper price point, and they have a lower range, so you can go about 75 to 100 miles a charge. The Model S will be competitive because it can go about 300 miles a charge. Also,
definitely on Tesla's side because the facts are on Tesla's side. You can take a lot of time talking about all the details and who said what and what the advice was, but in essence, you have a reporter who charged a car to go 30 miles and then attempted to drive 60. And so Tesla took a look at that and just said, okay, well, here's the data. Our car performed actually quite well. And there's other media outlets who've done the same thing with great results. So it was a great story, but the car comes out unscathed. If you are in the market to buy that car and you do your research, it's quite simple. You will find out that it's quite a nice ride. It's a great car. I've driven it. It's awesome. So if you're doing the research, you're going to conclude probably the same thing that anyone else would or what I would, which is that it's a great car.
You have a buy on the stock, and the stock's at an all-time high today. Do you really still tell people to go out and put new money into this thing?
It's a great question. My price target's $45, and it got there overnight. I've always said that $45 is a stepping stone on the way to a much bigger company.
Is that a reasonable expectation in your view, Andrea?
I do. I think that this company they've got a lot of exciting things going on, and I think they're going to continue to surprise us.
Thanks for joining us. Great to get someone from Seattle.
Thank you.
A fresh perspective, and outside good old New York City where the rest of us live. That's Andrea and Matt Miller.
The rest of us live here in New York, right?
It's a different perspective. Look, she's smiling and happy, right?
It's
all
a
of us
very
here in
good
New
point.
York are, just trying to get a bagel and a coffee for $2.15. It's just nice to get a perspective from outside New York.
I agree.
Yes.
We should get all our perspective outside of New York.
And
$13 billion. That is Tesla Motors' total market value after rocketing up by $13 yesterday, above $100 a share, making it worth more than companies like Netflix, for instance, or even Fiat. So does the electric car maker really merit this valuation?
Well, Betty Lou, it reminds me of the Prince song, Let's Party Like It's 1999. It kind of reminds me of some of the things that were going on right before the tech bubble burst in early 2000, but
the thing that's changed from when Tesla was a $30 stock to today, it's not really what the end market potential is. It's not some of the engineering prowess they have at the company. That's all the same. What's changed is how quickly people are getting it. And Mark, you got to drive the car.
I understand. I just don't know where I'm going to plug it in, Andrea.
Well, Elon says
maybe around around Silicon Valley you can do that kind of thing, but in Northeast Florida there's absolutely no place to charge a Tesla that I'm aware of.
Oh, there's plenty of places to charge it in Florida. Public charging stations. Tesla will be building charging stations. But the best place is your own garage.
But you know, but Andrea, let me just.
It'll bring down my grid.
Let me just point this out, though, because we were looking at shares of, we were looking at the at some of the numbers around Tesla. Andrea, it's at 1,100 times PE. That is, and that is, I mean, that's astronomical. How can that be justified?
Yep. So in 2010, 2011. Wait. In 2010, 2011, Tesla was trading at what the company could do in the future. So it's trading on potential earnings. If they max out the factory, 500,000 vehicles a year, it's a $300 stock. Okay, so Tesla's trading on what they can do in the future. And they've got a factory that can do about $20 billion in revenue, about $2 billion in net income, assuming a 10% NOPAT. And that's about $14 to $15 a share. So there's still room for it to go.
Well, Mark?
Andrea, I have some swamp in Florida I want to sell you.
You've got to drive the car.
Tesla Motor Cars, the company, it's now worth more than $14 billion. That is more than Fiat at about $9.5 billion. Get this, Fiat makes 1.5 million vehicles. Tesla, well, it says it's going to make 20,000 vehicles this year. So how is this valuation possible?
Well, Tesla's pretty much, they're growing really, really fast. And investors will pay for profitability and for growth. And if you look at Q1, Tesla grew about 1,700 and something %. And there's a lot of potential for this company to continue to grow and for the company itself to double and double and double again.
So what kind of growth are you talking about when you mention 1,000%? Because when you look at their actual earnings, they would have lost money if they hadn't counted some of those tax credits, as well as shifting around some of the loans and the repayments that they made to the U.S. government.
You're absolutely right that the margins on Tesla's vehicles are, they're an area of focus for investors. And so over the course of this year, what investors need to see is that those margins show steady progression upward toward 25% gross margin. And I think Tesla will do that. The long term is maybe 200,000 to 500,000 vehicles at a much lower price point. At a 25% gross margin, that would get you to about $15 in earnings per share.
All right, so this is based on Tesla selling 500,000 units. Now, we know that Goldman Sachs came out yesterday. They lowered their price target on the shares of Tesla to 84. You've got a price target of $200 a share. How is it possible? Is this just an example of what happens when you have irrational exuberance chasing a stock? What could go wrong with your thesis for Tesla?
If it were a foregone conclusion that Tesla was going to sell 500,000 vehicles a year, the stock would be a lot higher than it is now. I'm saying it's a $300 stock if they max out the factory. I'm haircutting that for the execution risk. I'm not saying there's not risk, to $200. And the question, I think, is can this management team manage through the obstacles facing them as they grow into becoming a much larger automaker? And I think the answer is yes. So far, this management team has proven that it can be trusted to sort of manage through whatever might come up.
And you think that they're going to be able to maintain these current margins? I mean, the car that Tesla sells comes in at a price tag of about $100,000. They're really going to sell 200,000 automobiles at under 50,000? I mean, Porsche has a Boxster. They only sell about 10,000 units a year.
So I love that you brought up Porsche. Porsche's gross margins are 38 to 40%. So talking about a gross margin of 25% for Tesla is not unreasonable, first of all. Second of all,
but Andrea, I just got to tell you that Porsche only sells 150,000 cars a year, and that's in the best year it's ever had, 150, and you're talking about 500,000 for Tesla.
You need to break down price point and volume. And we can do a table, but we can't do that here on TV. So what I'd say is you got to look at market share, and then you asked about gross margins, and you want to see the gross margins increase for Tesla. Their factory is not at peak efficiency right now.
They're only going to sell like 21,000 cars this year, and they have a more than $12 billion market cap. With your price target, if it's hit, you're looking at a $20 billion company. That's about $1 million a car valuation.
It is today. You know, the last couple years, Tesla is a forward-looking story. And so my price target is a forward-looking price target. The stock today is forward-looking. So, you know, back in 2010, 2011, the stock was trading on what they could do this year. Now we know they can make a really good car for $80,000. Can they make a really good car cheaper? The stock will get the credit, I believe, for the answer to that, which I think is yes.
Is that she doesn't cover the other car companies. She covers Stratasys, 3D printers. She covers an unmanned aircraft. She's basically a technology analyst. And I think that says a lot about how people are looking at Tesla.
China, as Elon Musk has said, is a little bit of a wild card. I think ultimately Tesla expects a third of their demand to come from North America, 1/3 from Asia, and 1/3 from Europe. Ultimately, though, this company is a market share play on the $1.5 trillion global auto market.
But hey, Angela, this is Andrea. Excuse me. This is her. You know, when we look at this company and we look at the profits or lack thereof or whatever they're going to be, last quarter clearly the stock got the pop after they reported the profit. This quarter, that people don't expect a profit. Whatever they have is low quality. Why should we not care about the quality of the numbers they're reporting?
Simply because the GAAP profitability does not reflect what's actually going on with the company. They have to defer a lot of money. So say they sell a $100,000 car, they're only going to be able to recognize maybe 4% of that revenue in the quarter. The rest of it they're going to have to defer. So what investors are going to have to do is look below the GAAP numbers to look at what's actually going on with the cash flow to actually find out.
How long do you cut them that slack on a company like this?
I mean, as long as they are selling the units, how much they recognize on revenue, I mean, it's just GAAP accounting optics, honestly. So I think that investors will just want to look at future potential earnings potential, maybe 10% on the operating margin line and ultimately 25% on the gross margin line.
Andrea, I was thinking about the supply-demand. Is it the case that they're only making or only selling 5,000 a month because that's just as many as they could make? If they doubled production, would they sell that too?
Yeah, so it's 5,000 a quarter, and they are production constrained. A lot of it actually has to do with the supplier network. The suppliers have to ramp to supply to Tesla so that way they can ramp the factory.
Where do you think demand is? Because they'll basically buy as many as Elon Musk can make. How far does that go? Is the demand at 60,000 a year? Is it at 100?
So it's an interesting question because, you know, I would have said, you know, maybe 50,000 a year on the Consumer Reports report that it's the best car on the market, but now it just got the report that it's the safest car on the market. And so that even changes the demand equation even still further because it's the safest car you can drive. Electric vehicle technology is really disruptive, and you're seeing what that means here in Tesla.
I wonder what you think about other competitors coming into the space, because it's not going to be long before the likes of General Motors and Ford realize that there is money to be made here. I mean, every car company could get into this space arguably fairly easily, right?
No, because Tesla has a lot of IP in their battery technology and their thermal management. They have a lot of IP in the battery, and that technology is 5 to 10 years ahead of the competition. And
the fear is, Andrea, that there's a lot of hype here. And, you know, as Matt points out, you know, you look at a company like Volkswagen, which is producing 90 times as many cars as Tesla. At what point does the hype really turn into something that's reality, where they're producing at a much higher level and that there's more sort of oomph behind the stock price?
Tesla's got some real potential. They've got a lot of IP in their battery technology around the usage of the lithium-ion cells that they're using on the cylindrical cell. That is real. The IP is real. The factory is real. And the management team is real.
You talk to a lot of other chief operating officers. I talked to Bob Carter just recently from Toyota. They're not concerned about needing some IP from Tesla. They can all produce electric cars that'll run the same amount of time on a charge, that'll do the same kind of performance figures. So it's just about the design of the vehicle, and I feel like Tesla is going to have a lot of competition.
Why haven't they done it yet?
Why haven't they done it yet?
No, they're going to definitely be coming out. I mean, the i8 will be a great example, right? It's coming out very soon. And it's definitely going to take the wind out of the sails, at least at the top end, the luxury end of Tesla. I think
I'd like to see their cost per kilowatt hour. Matt, you challenge them. Ask them their cost per kilowatt hour. See if they can get as low as Tesla's. Tesla's under $300 per kilowatt hour. I don't think anyone else is there.
자, 참고로 2014년 출시된 BMW i8의 순수 배터리 주행거리는 15마일이었습니다. 얼마에 출시됐냐고요? 13만 6천 불이었습니다.
I think they can ramp up to 500,000 quick. I mean, right now they're struggling to produce 20,000 vehicles a year, right?
They're in the ramp-up phase now on the Model S, which is a much more expensive car. Sure, they're going to do a little over 20,000 vehicles this year on the Model S. The next generation of car, I mean, we are talking about several years out, 2017, 2018, 2019, for the higher volumes.
That seems pretty far out to look, right? I mean, that's you got to have a crystal ball to look that many years out, don't you?
Well, companies, this happens all the time with stocks, right? You look at where growth companies get valued on future earnings potential, not today's earnings potential. It's no different with Tesla.
Andrea, what's more difficult to you when you look at Tesla that's up 54% year to date? What's more difficult, evaluating it as a car company, battery company, and is he doing it effectively right now? Because it seems like he's hitting on all cylinders, playing the shell game here because he's creating a little bit of confusion here so that the valuation sort of goes off to the moon.
I don't know that they're necessarily managing the company for the stock price, right? I mean, they're managing the company to take market share on an auto market that's worth $1.5 trillion a year, and they're doing well. The means of storage, which powers the energy storage that powers the vehicle, happens to be a battery pack instead of a gas tank. So it is a different product in a lot of ways, and you have to make a lot of battery packs, which are, maybe harder to do than, say, gas tank supply and then gasoline supply.
Andrea, you have a buy rating on the stock. You have a $335 price tag. What makes you so positive?
$355, and well, the Model 3 is going to come to market next year, and they're going to start taking orders, next month. And I calculate that they've done about 1 million test drives of people going in to test drive that Model S, and probably 80 to 90% of those people can't really afford a Model S, so they have a nice pool of car buyers to tap into when they sell the Model 3.
What are the commonalities that a company like Tesla, whether it's an automaker or a tech company, shares with these other range of companies?
Disruptive technology. The presence of the product on the market disrupts the market and fundamentally changes that market or changes human behavior. That's how I look at it. Tesla has solved the energy storage problem. So they're not really solving the problem of driving, they're solving the problem of energy storage. Electricity is a more efficient means of using power, and that's true of anything. It has nothing to do with me being a stock analyst, that's just physics. But the reason why we use gasoline is because that's how we store the car our power in the gas tank. We store our energy in the gas tank through gasoline. And so it has been really hard to have a high-powered application for automotive use through using electricity, and Tesla has solved that problem. And now they're taking that and not only applying it to the auto market, but they're applying it to the energy storage market as a means of storing solar power. And I think we're going to see other product lines come out over the future, although I'd hate to speculate on what those could be right now.
So does that mean a better way of looking at Tesla is as a gigantic battery company versus a car company?
In a way, I mean, this is a company that's really innovative and is solving problems that primarily have to do with energy storage, which as the human species, that's a big problem that we all face, right? How do you store solar power, right? So that is how I see that company, and they are going to be completely vertically integrated on their cell production by the year 2020 through their Gigafactory, which is a joint venture with Panasonic that will open in Nevada.
자, 안드레아 제임스였습니다. 파괴적인 혁신을 일으키는 회사들한테는 항상 안티들이 있기 마련입니다. 애플도 초창기엔 엄청난 혹평을 들었고 아마존도 비웃음거리였던 적이 있었죠. PE가 너무 높다. 경쟁자가 생기면 끝이다. 테슬라를 팔으라는 목소리는 항상 있을 겁니다. 2010년부터 14년, 16년, 18년 그리고 2020년까지 쭉 있었으며 앞으로도 쭉 성장이 멈추지 않는 한 계속 있을 겁니다. 안드레아 같은 애널리스트들이 있었기에 테슬라가 어려운 시기에 투자를 받고 역경을 헤쳐 지금의 자리에 오지 않았나 생각이 듭니다. 안드레아는 2016년 5월 아쉽게도 비즈니스 컨설팅 회사를 설립하며 테슬라 애널리스트 생활을 마감했습니다. 하지만 2021년 아직까지도 테슬라블로 트위터, 유튜브 등에서 활동 중입니다.
Will we get a chance to test drive some of the autopilot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, once we get to the floating bridge.
This is the best autopilot on the market, right?
Yeah, it's the only, I think, true auto steer and auto lane change on the market.
Because you can't like buy the Google car, right?
Correct.
Like, can I do it?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, but I'm scared. Okay.
That was up to 80 miles an hour. 80, you got 85 miles an hour, I think.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let's just like chill out.
We technically recommend you leave your hands on the wheels, but you could let go.
Oh my god. Oh my god. It's so funny. I was going too slow. And this car was like, okay, chicken shit. Go faster.
Yeah, it's 65, so it probably knows what the speed limit is, and you were going under it.
Oh my gosh, look at this. I can like look around.
And then check the right lane, then turn your right turn signal on. I guess there's that.
Is there a guy in the way?
The truck's kind of... yeah, there's somebody coming. So wait till the police are here.
After he's gone.
Blue Dodge.
And then put the right turn signal on. If I put the right, it's not gonna just like.
It will move itself over. Put the right turn signal on.
And is it gonna do it?
Go ahead and